Hi. The last time I was talking to you about Alexandre Dumas, the grandfather, I was telling you about how his hot temper caused him to split from his father. Well, a couple of days later, he enlisted in the Army of the Rhine as a private. Now, there were a few Republicans of Saint Germain who tried to block him out on this because, after all, he was royalty, and they brought a suit against the army. But he was still allowed to remain. Now, right from the get go, young Alexander started distinguishing himself. One day, while on a reconnaissance with four other men, he found himself cut off from them and surrounded by 13 of the enemy. Well, Alexander just charged right into them and he fought so fiercely that he made the 13 surrender. He then tied them all up and led them back to camp in single file. Now, this little escapade got him promoted to the rank of sergeant major, the highest enlisted rank attainable. This incident occurred during the days of the French Revolution, and a number of free Negroes from the West Indies had come to France to offer their services to the people. They formed a unit known as La Légion Américaine, or in English, the American Legion, not to be confused with the American Legion of this country, formed right after World War One. But anyway, now you know where our American Legion took its name from. This unit later came to be called the Black Legion and was led by none other than the legendary Chevalier de St. George, the only swordsman, as I said, of that day who Alexander could not beat. Don't worry, I'll have a separate section just on the Chevalier of St. George later on. Now, St. George was eager to recruit the young Alexander into his unit and offered him a commission of second lieutenant if he joined. However, the commander of a white unit was just as eager to get him, and this man, whose name was Colonel Boyer, also offered him a lieutenancy. Well, St. George, not willing to be outdone, then offered Alexander a captaincy, and so it went on and on until the Chevalier of St. George finally won him over with the commission of lieutenant colonel. Now, as I said before, this unit became to be known as the Black Legion, and when Alexander served in it, he soon came to be called the Black Devil by all the armies of Europe, including his own. Later on, the civilian population of France mockingly named him Mr. Humanity. I'll explain why later. 2 weeks later, he and St. George together saved Lille from the royalist sympathizer Dumouriez in a brilliant charge. Now, if you think that charge was impressive, it was nothing compared to the way Alexander charged through the ranks of his own army. He went from sergeant to general in chief in only 22 months. After attaining all this rank, there's a story about how once on horseback, he saw a soldier misbehaving. He swooped down on him, catching him by the back of his coat and holding him out at arm's length, rode off with him to the guardhouse. Now, around this time, he met the daughter of a hotel keeper by the name of Marie Labarre and immediately married her since he was going off to war. The following year, he was promoted to brigadier general, and on September 3rd of that same year, he was given command of the Army of the Alps. And early in the following year, he was promoted to the third highest rank in the entire army, commander of the Army of the West. More about Dumas later.